जय।
जय।
नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय।
जय।
गंगा माई की जय।
जय।
जमुना माई की जय।
जय।
तुलसी देवी की जय।
जय।
भक्ति देवी की जय।
जय।
समवेता भक्तवृंद की जय।
जय।
गौर प्रेम आनंदे.
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning class. I thought that today, since it's the anniversary of the appearance of Bhagavad Gita, we might change things a little bit. I don't know if you're like me, when you get a book to read, sometimes do you skip the introduction? Does that ever happen?
Yes.
Yeah. Perhaps less in devotional books, but still, introductions often set the tone for the rest of the book. So I thought today we could congregationally read the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I would say perhaps we get volunteers to read a paragraph or two, and then we could, just to help it stay in our minds, we could, I'll ask people to summarize, or I'll call on devotees to summarize what we just read. What do you think about that? Is that too much? Too much? Anyway, we're going to do it anyway, if you don't mind. Is any objections?
No, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to go to the
Right.
the introduction. Of the
Is
Bhagavad Gita.
anybody able to share the screen? Okay.
Okay, so to start off with, let's chant these prayers together in unison. Yeah, these prayers, Srila Prabhupada usually chanted these introductory prayers in the evening, not always in the morning, but in the evening when speaking on Bhagavad Gita. Okay, you ready? Let's go. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katadayam Dadati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sakyatatam Sagana Raghunathanvitang Tang Sajivang Advaitam Savadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganalita Shri Visakham He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute
तप्त
Taptakanchana
Taptakanchana
Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanu Sute
Sute
Devi
Devi
Pranamami
Pranamami
Hari
हरि
Priye
Haripriye
Vancha
Kalpatarubhyascha
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च
Kripa Sindhubhya
Sindhubhya
Cha
Vacha
Vacha
Patitanam
पतितानां
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
पावनेभ्यो
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Nave
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Namo
Namo
नमो
Namaha
नमः
Namaha
Namo
Shri
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
कृष्ण
Prabhu
Chaitanya
प्रभु
Nityananda Shri
नित्यानंद
Bhunityananda
Advaita Gadadhara
श्री
Shri
अद्वैता
Srivasadi
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Srivasadi
Srivasadi
Gaura
वृंदा
Gaura Bhakta
Bhatta
Vrinda Hare
Hare Krishna Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
हरे
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
Krishna Hare
कृष्ण
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
हरे
Hare
Hare
हरे
Hare
Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama
Hare
Rama
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 Hare
Rama
Hare
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 राम
Hare
हरे
Hare
Very good.
हरे
And Mother Shobharate, I know you have to leave usually sometime in the middle. Could you start off reading here?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gitopanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English, but as far as I have seen, not only in America but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or the direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. The speaker of Bhagavad Gita is Lord Krishna. He is mentioned on every page of Bhagavad Gita as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan. Of course, the word Bhagavan sometimes refers to any powerful person or any powerful demigod, and certainly here Bhagavan designates Lord Sri Krishna as a great personality, but at the same time, we should note that Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as is confirmed by all great acharyas, spiritual masters like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Kimbarka Swami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and many other authorities of Vedic knowledge in India. The Lord Himself also establishes Himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, and He is accepted as such in the Brahma Samhita and all the Puranas, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Bhagavad Purana. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, we should take Bhagavad Gita as it is directed by the personality of Godhead Himself. In the fourth chapter of the Gita, 4.123, the Lord says,
Okay. So let's interrupt there. And Bhava Grahi Janardhan Prabhu, are you able to speak?
Yes, Prabhu.
Could
Hare
you
Krishna.
what do you recall from the first paragraph?
The first paragraph, I
Yeah,
can get. So I believe the first paragraph, it talked about the importance of the Bhagavad Gita, where it was part of the Gita Upanishad, and it talked about the importance of having the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I might be combining both the first and second paragraph here. But I know
okay.
that the crux of what we just read was this is necessary because this version is necessary because there hasn't been one that hasn't been manipulated or kind of perverted by the author's interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita.
Very good. Yeah. So yeah, Gita Upanishad, it's not part of, but Gita Upanishad is just another name. Sometimes Bhagavad Gita is called Gita Upanishad. Yeah. So there's not another. So because it gives knowledge, just like the Upanishads are spiritual knowledge, usually that differentiate matter and spirit. So Bhagavad Gita is like that. And then you're right, good that an American lady asked Srila Prabhupada to recommend one version of Bhagavad Gita, and he couldn't do so because, as you mentioned, good, that they all seem to give their own people's personal opinion instead of the opinion of Krishna. A volunteer for paragraph 2.
I could read.
No, I mean, I'm asking for a summary of
Oh.
paragraph 2, or if you don't, sure, Mother Sundari, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Let's see, I believe paragraph 2 addressed Krishna as the physician. We don't take medication without reading the directions as to how to take that medication. So we need to be very careful to follow instructions carefully. And
Yes.
I think it's paragraph 2 that mentioned that Krishna, Bhagavan, is mentioned on every single page of Bhagavad Gita, and he is the true physician, and therefore we need to receive instruction directly from him.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever taken medicine. If it's you get a medicine and then, well, it's such a good medicine, I'll take more, or I'll take less, but it's according to the physician. Yeah, good. Yes, you can continue. You can read there then. Thank you. You want to do the Sanskrit there or no?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Imam vipasvate yogam, proktavan aham avyayam, vivasvan manave praha, manur ikshvakave bravit, evam parampara praptam, imam rajarshayo vidu, sakala neha mahata, yogo nashta parantapa. Sa evayam mayatedya, yoga prukta puratanaha, bhaktosi me sakachiti, rahasyam hitatuttamam. Here the Lord informs Arjuna that this system of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, was first spoken to the sun god, and the sun god explained it to Manu, and Manu explained it to Ikshvaku, and in that way, by disciplic succession, one speaker after another, this yoga system has been coming down. But in the course of time, it has become lost. Consequently, the Lord has to speak it again, this time to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He tells Arjuna that he is relating this supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend. The purport of this is that Bhagavad Gita is a treatise which is especially meant for the devotee of the Lord. There are 3 classes of transcendentalists, namely the Jnani, the Yogi, and the Bhakta, or the impersonalist, the meditator, and the devotee. Here the Lord clearly tells Arjuna that he is making him the first receiver of a new parampara, disciplic succession, because the old succession was broken. It was the Lord's wish, therefore, to establish another parampara in the same line of thought that was coming down from the sun god to others, and it was his wish that his teaching be distributed anew by Arjuna. He wanted Arjuna to become the authority in understanding the Bhagavad Gita. So we see that Bhagavad Gita is instructed to Arjuna, especially because Arjuna was a devotee of the Lord, a direct student of Krishna, and his intimate friend. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is best understood by a person who has qualities similar to Arjuna's. That is to say, he must be a devotee in a direct relationship with the Lord. As soon as one becomes a devotee of the Lord, he also has a direct relationship with the Lord. That is a very elaborate subject matter, but briefly it can be stated that a devotee is in a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in one of 5 different ways.
Okay, good. Um, Pradanath Prabhu, do you summarize the first of the 2 paragraphs?
Yes, I think it was referring to the first 3 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, the 4th chapter, where Krishna is telling Arjuna that he first spoke this science or this yoga to sun god Vivaswan, and then how in a disciplic succession the knowledge was being received, but that at some point in time it was broken, the disciplic succession. Uh, so Krishna was personally speaking to Arjuna. Right? I
Yes,
thought that was the first paragraph.
yes. Oh, I should add, if anyone has any questions or clarifications, we could also entertain those things. And Shashi Shekhar Prabhu, the second paragraph, even though it's still in front of us, maybe we can move up a little bit.
Hare Krishna. So it was discussing the disciplic succession and how it came down through the sun god, that specifically the devotee of the Lord and the friendship, how because Arjuna was Krishna's friend and devotee, he gave the knowledge to so like Arjuna got the knowledge from Krishna because he was his friend in the disciplic succession, even though it's kind of
Arjuna was in the disciplic succession?
Well, Arjuna became in the so Krishna was in the so it's like it kind of there was a disciplic succession, and the knowledge has to be passed down through the disciplic succession, and the relationship as a friend had something to do with it, right? So there was like some kind of there was a relationship that Arjuna had with Krishna that allowed the message to be spoken through to him.
Yeah, Bhaktosi Mesakacheti is a devotee and a friend also. It's one of those kinds of relationship. Yeah. Any questions or comments on that? No. So, how does the succession get broken?
By breaking that relationship, or by mental speculation. I don't know if it says that specifically, but through going outside of the knowledge that's passed down, or manufacturing something, or speculating about things that haven't been directly given from in the parampara.
Okay, so that goes back to the first paragraph, right? The other Bhagavad Gitas, they're putting forward their own ideas instead of what Krishna says. You follow? Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It goes back to that paragraph. Do we have a volunteer for the next this part?
I could, if you'd like, I can read.
Yeah, sure.
I have to jump off in like about 15 minutes. So.
Okay.
So I'm starting at these number one.
One may be a devotee in a passive state.
Yep. One may be a devotee in a passive state. Number 2. One may be a devotee in an active state. Number 3. One may be a devotee as a friend. Number 4. One may be a devotee as a parent. Number 5. One may be a devotee as a conjugal lover. Arjuna was in a relationship with the Lord as a friend. Of course, there is a gulf of difference between this friendship and the friendship found in the material world. This is transcendental friendship, which cannot be had by everyone. Of course, everyone has a particular relationship with the Lord. And that relationship is evoked by the perfection of devotional service. But in the present status of our life, not only have we forgotten the Supreme Lord, but we have forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord. Every living being out of the many, many billions and trillions of living beings has a particular relationship with the Lord eternally. That is called Svarup. By the process of devotional service, one can revive that Svarup. And that stage is called Svarup Siddhi, perfection of one's constitutional position. So Arjuna was a devotee, and he was in touch with the Supreme Lord in friendship. Should I keep going?
Yeah, sure.
How Arjuna accepted this Bhagavad Gita should be noted. His manner of acceptance is given in the 10th chapter, 10:12 through 14. Arjuna uvacha param prama param dham pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adi devam ajam vibhum ahus tvam rashaya sarve devarshir naradas tata ashito devalo vyasha svayam chaiva bravishi me sarvam etad ratam manye yan mam vadashi keshava nahi te bhagavan vyaktim vidur deva na danavaha. Arjuna said, "You are the supreme personality of Godhead, the ultimate abode, the pure, the absolute truth. You are the eternal, transcendental, original, the unborn, the greatest. All the great sages such as Narada, Vashista, Devala, and Vyas confirm this truth about you. And now you yourself are declaring it to me. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Neither the demigods nor the demons, O Lord, can understand your personality."
Thank you. Thank you. Nrsinga Praladeshwara, Prabhu, are you there? Could you summarize the first paragraph?
Yeah, a jiva can have different relationship with the Lord. It can be passive relationship, it can be dasya relationship, it can be shakha relationship, it can be parental relationship, it can be conjugal lover relationship. So, so that way, every jiva has a sharup. So by devotional service, he can know his sarup. So he can render devotional service to the Lord and thereby achieve the come to know his sarupa. So every jiva has a unique relationship with the Lord. So that can be revealed to him by only devotional service. That's what I understood.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Nicely done. Nicely said. Thank you. Any, although it's right here in front of us, any questions or additions about the second paragraph? Statement, summary? And if you've said it already, you're welcome to say it again. What about Mother Vindyavali?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisance. Yeah, this after hearing Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said to Arjuna to accepted Krishna as Param Brahma and the Supreme Brahman also. After living being is Brahman, but the Supreme Being is Supreme Living Being, or Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Brahman. Parandhama means that is supreme rest or abode of everything. This is resting on everything. And Pavitra means that he is pure, untainted by material contamination. He is not touched with material contamination. Purusham means that he is supreme enjoyer. Shashwatam, eternal, actually. Devyam means transcendental. Adi Deva means the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is Ajam means unborn. And Vibhum means the greatest. So that's what, after hearing the Bhagavad Gita, so from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna accepted like that.
The whole Bhagavad Gita, yeah. Of course, that's in the 10th chapter.
Essence.
So you haven't even finished it yet. Yeah. How about the second part? The second verse.
So now one may think that Krishna is a friend of Arjuna. Arjuna was telling him all this by flattery, but Arjuna, just to drive up this king of kind of doubt, actually. All the great sages accepted. And all the great sages also said that. And minds of the readers of Bhagavad Gita sustains this verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yes. Even the great sages and demigods don't know.
Demigods, everybody said,
Okay.
accepted that.
Okay, good. Thank you. Very nice. Very nice. Anna, can you read there? Now one may think. Anna,
Sure.
now.
No. Now. Okay, from here. Now one may think that because Krishna was the friend of Arjuna, Arjuna was telling him all this way of flattery, but Arjuna, just to drive out this kind of doubt from the minds of the readers of Bhagavad Gita, substantiates these phrases in the next verse when he says that Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by himself, but by the authorities like Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasadeva. There are great personalities who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam edam ritam manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So how can a human being understand Lord Shri Krishna without becoming his devotee?
Yes. But continue.
Hold on a second. Oh. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even a very great personality. Lord Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita, or the statements of Arjuna, the person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should at least theoretically except Shri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Are you still there, Mother Shobharadhe?
Yes, Prabhu.
Could you summarize the first paragraph?
Just because Arjuna was Krishna's friend, we should not think that, it was, he said it in flattery. He confirmed that point by saying that all the sages accepted him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was not because he was his friend, he was conditioned to, just say it because he's his friend. And it's the sages also accepted him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you have to be a devotee to understand the Bhagavad Gita.
Good, good. So, do you know who Devala is? And Asita Devala? They said Asita Devala. We know Vyas. You know Narada. Who is Devala?
Are they one of the Saptarishis?
Not that I know of. No. So Devala, the Pandavas had a family priest who traveled with them. His name was Domya. And Devala was his elder brother. So he was an authority. So he was more close to home. Devala, yeah. Asita Devala Vyas. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
I just thought that paragraph was interesting because the last couple of sentences say, how can I think it used the term human being, but I'm not sure. Begin to, let's see what it say. How can the Lord be known by personalities greater than human beings? He cannot even be known by such personalities. However, if one is a devotee, then he is kind of blessed with that understanding. So there's some contradiction there presented, like it's not possible to understand who the Lord is, even by great personalities. But then if those great personalities are devotees of Lord, then that's where the understanding becomes activated.
Yeah, so what do you make of that?
I think the emphasis here is without devotion, it doesn't matter. It really does not matter how great a personality is or how accomplished or how elevated. If that personality is not devoted to God, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then their understanding is very limited.
Good point. That's a very good. So no matter they're a scholar, they have a position, a political position, or a great scientist, whatever that might be, in the estimation of the material world, those people without devotion, they're not qualified, or that Krishna doesn't enlighten their hearts to understand him. Not possible. There's a nice verse that Lord Brahma spoke to Krishna. Atapi te deva pada bhujadvayam prashado deshanu grihita evahi janati tadvam bhagavan mahimno. You know this one? This one? Anyway, it says that one can go on speculating for hundreds and thousands of years, but unless you get a drop of mercy from the two lotus feet of Krishna, you won't be able to understand him. Not possible, even if you go on meditating and speculating for thousands of years. Thank you. Very nice. Very nice.
One more point, Prabhu, if I may. I'm so sorry, but
That's all right. That's what we're liking points. We like points.
I had a strong Christian upbringing, and I think one thing I appreciated about the Christian faith is that Jesus is born in such humble circumstances. He's born in a manger outside. He doesn't have, beautiful indoor protection. There's straw surrounding him and animals. It's like almost like a barn, right? And I feel that a lot of Christians who come into the church, they're so aware of this, these humble beginnings of Jesus Christ, that there's automatically, as soon as you walk into the sanctuary, there's a dropping, a letting go of the ego, of the position that you may hold in the material world, because it shows that the greatest soul, in their view, had the humblest beginnings. So I think that's something we can benefit from, is that letting go of the material coverings when one comes into the sanctuary of God.
Nice point. Do you have any suggestions about how that might be done?
It's difficult because I think even within our movement, there's some reverence for those who are highly educated, especially if they're educated in religion, or those who are, successful engineers or successful doctors. We tend to naturally look to these people for guidance, and there's a great deal of respect for the years that they've put into their education. So it's a difficult thing to let go of that concept of oneself that's built up by society. And society is placing you in a position kind of higher than others, and then you have to let go of that when you enter the the Church of God. And I think it's not so easy to do. I think we have some fine examples of it in our movement, however, some very exalted devotees who are also accomplished in the material world. And I don't have that kind of title, so I can't say how one goes about letting go of that, but I know it's not easy.
Sure.
Maybe perhaps just by recognizing, and in our tradition, in the Bhakti Vaishnav tradition, we emphasize not only the intimacy of God, but also the glory of God. And we, all of the wonder of all of the universes and the creation and the administrative demigods who work under God, all of that is very elaborately described in our tradition. So I suppose one way that one can humble oneself is to think of all of that, which is, as opposed to Christianity, which is not emphasized so much in Christianity. There's the glory of God for sure, but no specific descriptions of that.
Yes. So like we chanted at the beginning, to be Sarveshwareshwara Brajendra Kumar, Tamarichaya Vishveshrijan Sanha. Yeah. Thank you. Nice points. Anybody have any other suggestions about how one might practice giving up the false ego, or how one does practice giving up the misconceptions or false egos, either into the temple or in other ways? Nobody? Okay. I'm just thinking that, one of the things that one does when you enter the temple is, whether you're a big shot or a small fry or anybody in between, the first thing is you offer obeisances. And obeisances, I mean, in the Catholic Church, they bow to the knee, but in the Hare Krishna movement, Vedic system, we go all the way down, full dandavat. Yeah. Oh, that's showing that you are the supreme. The Supreme Lord is great, and I'm very tiny, very tiny. Um, I tell a story about Alexander the Great. When he conquered Persia, because in Persia, the people in Persia at that time, they would bow down fully to their king. So when Alexander the Great conquered Persia, he sat on the royal throne, and he wanted his his army soldiers to bow down like the people in Persia were doing to their king. And they said, "No way, we're not doing that. We're not going to do that." So it's a little bit foreign for Westerners to bow down all the way, because there's a thought, oh, why should we bow down like Alexander's soldiers? And there's some interesting stories about devotees in the beginning. Gargamuni talks about how he was hesitant to bow down to Srila Prabhupada. You remember this? And so he asked Srila Prabhupada, should I, even if I don't feel like bowing down, should I bow down? And you know what Srila Prabhupada's response was?
Yes.
Yes, and if you keep on bowing down, then you'll feel it. It'll come. That's a practice. It's just bowing down is one of the practices of devotional service, which recognizes our being in a subordinate position. And in this paragraph, let's talk about it being in the to understand Bhagavad Gita is in a submissive spirit, meaning, I like this part, but I don't like that part. Who are you to tell me what? This is. People sometimes have that approach to understanding spiritual knowledge. Yes, we should try to understand it. We should try to ask questions, but not in an overly challenging situation, but taking it, trying to understand it. We may not understand it, but question and trying to understand it. Oh, here's a Dronacharya. Yes, Dronacharya Prabhu writes, Lord Caitanya said, I am not a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Grihastha, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. Who am I? Just a servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis, Krishna, the master of the gopis. Yeah, very nice, nice said. Yeah, so the submissive spirit can be cultivated that way by hearing attentively and trying to understand, even if one doesn't understand. Srila Prabhupada would say, even for him, that sometimes his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's discussions were so elevated he didn't understand. And if you've read some of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's writings, they're very elevated, incredible vocabulary. I know the first Back to Godhead magazine I got, the first article was an article republished in the Back to Godhead, written by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was called the Vedanta, its morphology and ontology. And I could make heads or tails of it. And nor could I was in college at the time, and nor could my roommate, who was a philosophy major, he couldn't make heads or tails of it. But anyway, I still read it, tried, and hopefully, and therefore there's maybe some benefit. There was some benefit in that. So Srila Prabhupada said we keep on hearing, and we in a submissive spirit, and just that hearing process to being submissive will elevate our consciousness. Thank you. Other points?
Just one point on what Dronacharya Prabhu offered. I think that was a beautiful addition to this discussion, because the Bhagavad Gita in and of itself is not so, what's the word? I don't know the word, but where it shows the actual philosophy being practiced. Whereas the Caitanya Caritamrita, it's just saturated with actual human being devotee interactions that exemplify what the Gita is teaching us. So it's so wonderful to have both.
Yes.
So
yes.
we can see the Bhagavad Gita in action, so to speak.
Yes. And not only Srimad Bhagavatam is there, Caitanya Caritamrita is there, and Srila Prabhupada's activities also is a demonstration of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, Arjuna is giving a little demonstration, but it's not very elaborate, but he gives a demonstration about how to accept it in that verse, Sarvametamritad manye yanmam vadishikeshava. I accept as truth everything you say, whatever you say, I'll accept it. But I agree with you that the fuller demonstration is given in Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you. Prananath Prabhu, can you read the next 2 paragraphs?
Yeah. Just what is the Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nescience of material existence. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways, as Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna surrendered unto Sri Krishna, and consequently this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. Not only Arjuna, but every one of us is full of anxieties because of this material existence. Our very existence is in the atmosphere of non-existence. Actually, we are not meant to be threatened by non-existence. Our existence is eternal, but somehow or other, we are put into asat. Asat refers to that which does not exist. Out of so many human beings who are suffering, there are a few who are actually inquiring about their position as to what they are, why they are put into this awkward position, and so on. Unless one is awakened to this position of questioning his suffering, unless he realizes that he doesn't want suffering, but rather wants to make a solution to all suffering, then one is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. In the Brahma Sutra, this inquiry is called Brahma Jigyasa, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Every activity of the human being is to be considered a failure unless he inquires about the nature of the Absolute. Therefore, those who begin to question why they are suffering or where they came from and where they shall go after death are proper students for understanding Bhagavad Gita. The sincere student should also have a firm respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a student was Arjuna.
Thank you. Thank you. Bhavagrahi Janardana, do you have a summary of the first paragraph? Or you can still talk?
Yes. So it spoke about us being delivered from the material world, and that asat would refer to that which is not eternal. So our goal is to attach to eternality and not temporality, like what we have in the material world here.
Yes.
And then when we attach to things that are temporary, that's when we lose our focus. So because things are not eternal in this material world, we get anxious. We fall into anxiety because of that.
Yes. And not only because of that, right? There's so many anxieties are there, but that's
Right.
the root anxiety. So many anxieties are coming, and for everybody, not just Arjun, but for everybody. Arjun is the example for everybody. So everybody, we're having anxieties and problems, and but Lord Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita for that purpose, to free us from problems, trouble, material trouble, to make an ultimate solution. Yeah, good. And the second paragraph, anybody like to summarize the second paragraph here?
That as human beings, our purpose is athato brahma jignasa. Unless we start to inquire, why am I here? Who am I? Where am I going to go? Purpose of human life is not achieved.
Yeah, and those are big questions, right? Those are very big questions. Who am I? Where am I? What's the purpose of life? And Srila Prabhupada says in that paragraph, unless one does so, they're not a perfect human being. Isn't that interesting? So he uses the adjective, a perfect human being. Perfect is someone who inquires. That's the beginning of spiritual life, right? Being able to inquire about these aspects of why am I here and what happens. Yeah, very nice, very nice. So I know it's getting late. I just wanted to introduce the introduction. I would encourage everybody to read the introduction, the rest of the introduction. We got about a quarter or a third done of the introduction. It's a very enlightening part of the Bhagavad Gita that Srila Prabhupada wrote after writing the Bhagavad Gita itself, commenting on it. So if you get a chance today, please read more of the introduction or even the full introduction. And at the end of this introduction, there are 7 prayers by Adi Shankaracharya called the Gita Mahatmya. And I'd encourage you to recite those prayers. They're glorifications of the Bhagavad Gita by Adi Shankara, who's usually considered an impersonalist, or he of course he did promulgate Mayavad or impersonal philosophy, but he was actually a covered personalist. And it's revealed in those 7 prayers that you can read at the end of this introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, and especially would be valuable to do today, to read them and meditate on those 7 prayers after, if you get a chance. Questions or comments or additions? Oh, okay, great. Audiobook of Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Thank you, Bhava Grahi Janardan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva
Patitanam
vaishnavyo namo namaha. Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.